Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday Tech Talk. I'm going to call this a lounge while we get everybody situated. We're probably going to wait maybe about 5-10 minutes just to let everybody get settled in, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Take me to the ocean, take me to the sea, wash away my worries, let my soul be free. Take me to the ocean, take me to the sea, wash away my
I shared it with Shantae, and she said she already had plans. She's working on a budget super late.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that sucks.
Alrighty, we're a few minutes in. We still got some people coming in. We're about almost up to 40 people, so we're just gonna wait one more minute or so, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
I've been watching you for some time. Can't stop staring at those ocean burning cities, napalm skies, drifting flares inside those ocean eyes. Your ocean eyes. I've been walking through a world online. Can't stop thinking of your diamond. Careful creature, friends with time. Her lonely with a diamond mind. No social.
All righty. So I think we're about 5 minutes in, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Miriam, I will hand it over to you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our day 4 Women in Construction Week. Today is TED Talk Thursday. I'm super stoked for today, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to hand over the MC quickly to Eric to get the event started.
Thanks, Miriam. Thanks, Melissa. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to tonight's event, Tech Talk Thursday. Like Miriam said, this is our 4th event for Women in Construction Week, hosted by ASCE Orange County Construction Institute. Just a quick heads up, we'll be recording tonight's event, so you can refer back to it at your convenience. Like Miriam said, my name's Eric Warner. I'm Quality Director for McCarthy and part of Construction Institute and part of the WIC Week Planning Committee here. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. Remind everybody to please mute your mic. We'll have a break after the first 2 presentations for Q&A, and then again at the end of the event. Just a heads up. So some housekeeping stuff. So if you haven't registered for tomorrow's event yet, please sign up. Natalie has an exciting and custom class plan that's going to be great. We'll also be announcing our safety vest raffle winner tomorrow, so be sure to join us. Yeah, excited for tomorrow's event. Natalie, like it says on the flyer, Natalie's event is going to be focusing on the word empowerment, so definitely in line with this week's events. And then the safety vest raffle, we'll announce that tomorrow. So just want to take a quick minute before we hear from our gold sponsors. I wanted to share a bit about ASCE, since it sounds like we have some attendees from outside of Southern California and perhaps outside of well. ASCE is dedicated to the advancement of the science and profession of civil engineering and the enhancement of human welfare through the activities of society members. The Orange County branch is part of the Los Angeles section, which has a total of 7 branches. It's really cool to be a part of. If you haven't heard of it before, recommend you check it out. It's given me the unique opportunity to work with genuine and strong leaders like Miriam, Melissa, and Amber, our event chairs for this week. So definitely recommend checking that out. And then onto our sponsors. So we're super grateful for our gold sponsors who made this week and tonight's event possible. First, we'll hear from Danielle at Sully Miller Contracting. Did you have a chance to make it on here? Might be muted.
If Danelle's not on, we can move on to Cordoba and come back to them if she is able to hop on later. She might be running late.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Nancy, did you make it on yet, Nancy?
Hi, Eric, I'm on.
Hey, good evening, Nancy. Good to see you from you. So let me cycle through some slides real quick to get to your content. Don't look, guys, don't look. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So go ahead, Nancy. I'll work the slides for you.
Thanks. So hi, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. I am the talent acquisition partner at Cordoba Corporation, and we are located out of the state of California. And I know some of you might be out of California and other states as well, but our firm is, we mainly do projects in California, and there's different types of projects. We have a great transportation sector, energy, water, as well as education. And, you know, a lot of people, they have questions about, you know, who we actually are. The simple answer is we're a civil engineering firm, and we just partner with different utilities, different agencies and authorities on any civil projects having to do with, you know, transportation, education, facilities, energy, and water. So that's kind of a little bit about us. And so moving on to the next slide. Here we are. On the left-hand side, you can see that we've gotten some industry recognition from other firms. There is a kind of a magazine that comes out every year, and they kind of publish all the big firms in California, and we've made it, you know, pretty consistently almost every year. And then on the right-hand side here, you see we have all of our office locations. So like I said, we're out of California mainly, so we are all over the place. You know, up north, we're in Sacramento, San Francisco, San Ramon. So I would say if you have an interest in transportation, and that's having to do with, you know, anything having to do with BART, the Metro line, their big project right now is the high-speed rails, then you're going to be stationed up north in that area. That's where the majority of our firms are. And then kind of moving down to central, we have Chatsworth out there in the valley. We have Los Angeles, where I'm out of. And these projects are mainly, we have our corporate sector that sits out of Los Angeles, as well as education and water. And then moving down to kind of the Inland Empire, you have Ontario, into Orange County, you have Santa Ana, and then down the coast, you have San Diego. And that's mainly where we have a ton of our energy projects. We partner with big utility partners such as SDG&E, PG&E, and other firms as well, doing those types of projects. And so next slide. So here's just an example of a project that Cordoba has been working on for a few years now. This one is part of our transportation sector. We are partnering with the California High-Speed Rails Authority, and we are building what essentially is a bullet train. So it's about 800 miles going from the tip of California all the way down to the coast. And when it's going to be completed, you'll be able to take this bullet train from, you know, San Diego up to even like Humboldt, the Central Valley, through the Inland Empire. And it's pretty cool just because in California, we don't really, like, we have trains, but we don't have, you know, like an 800 mile train that's quite rigorous. And this project is a lot of fun. I've hired some engineers, and they really enjoy working on this project. There's a lot going on always with the High-Speed Rail Authority. And then here's a little bit more about our energy sector. I would say here at Cordoba, energy is probably the most demanding sector. They're always hiring. There's always roles that are being opened. And just an example of a project that our energy team is working on, this is with our electric side of the house. And so we worked with San Diego Gas and Electric down there in the coast. And for those of you who've lived out of California, you know, this past summer was kind of crazy with the wildfires, and I felt like everything was on fire. And so San Diego Gas and Electric is working to replace a lot of the poles, replace a lot of the equipment that are out in the dry lands, you know, where there's not a lot of traffic, but during crazy weather conditions, it can start a fire. And so that's kind of one of the interesting projects that Energy is working on. So it's a lot of fun, and people tend to come on and really stay on for a long time on that project. And then here, the next few slides are just some quotes from our current employees that are all over the place. Like, for example, Alex, she's part of our transportation sector. She manages a program, and this was taken last year. And she just kind of gave us a quote about working at Cordoba. She really enjoys it. One of the proudest things about Cordoba for me is that there's a great amount of diversity at every level in every sector. I mean, from PMs to engineers to drafters and designers, you've got a ton of folks with that come from all walks of life and have tons of experience as well. And so the next slide will be another engineer. She's one of our more junior engineers. She is out of, I think, our Santa Ana office, but she joined us, I think, straight out of college and has been with us for a while. And I think the best thing for her that she said about working at Cordoba is just the creativity amongst the teams. These projects are, you know, long projects that drag on for a few years. And so you're going to be working with the same people. And sometimes it's important to think outside the box as well. And then these are just our current open roles of each sector. And I'm not going to go through every single role, but as you can see, there's a variety of different roles for the projects, a lot of transmission and distribution, PM roles. I would say some of our entry-level roles would be like the gas pipeline engineers. Some of the business analyst roles are quite entry as well. And then design work is really easily, you can train a lot of people to do design work as well for energy. And then on the right-hand side, you have transportation. So I would say some of the more admin or the more entry-level roles would be like the row assistants, a lot of the admin, and the risk analyst is an interesting one as well. And then just trickling down to education, you have different types of managers, program schedulers, they're always needed, and contracts admin. And then just to leave a little piece of information here with you guys, here's some of our groups. I think this is education, the education girls. They were at a conference. This is pre-COVID, obviously, without the mask. But I'm gonna leave you with my contact information. So my email is on the screen there. And I invite anyone who's interested in construction, civil, transportation, energy, or water to go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept most of the invites from students that are interested in working in the civil engineering space. And we have a ton of projects on the pipeline that are coming up this year that I'm really excited to connect with some of you about. So I'll go ahead and pass it back to Eric.
Thanks so much, Nancy. Appreciate Cordoba being a gold sponsor for us tonight. Miriam?
Yeah, Jeanette, are you here? Would you like to speak on behalf of Sully Miller?
Hey, I don't know what Danielle had presented. All I know, it's a great company. I've been working there for 13 years. And they have sister companies, which is Blue Diamond and United Rock, and we're under the big Colas umbrella. And it's a pretty great company to work for. I mean, I've been there for 13 years. I'm happy with my department, but I don't know what Danielle has planned for presentation. I've actually never met her, so I was gonna look up my contacts and see if I could try to get a hold of her and find out if she could jump online and take care of this.
Okay,
No worries,
and
sorry.
the other thing we
No.
could do too, Miriam, is we could maybe come back to it at the end.
Yeah, if she
maybe,
hops
or-
on, we can always come back to it and have her do it anytime. Maybe even like
Yeah,
at the end.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look through my cell phone and see if I could find her. But yeah, Sully Miller's great. So that's all for me. Sorry, guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
that.
Janet.
Okay, so yeah, thanks again to our gold sponsors. Kind of a quick heads up for how tonight's going to go. We have 3 presentations. I'll introduce Amanda and Troy here in a minute. we'll break for Q&A, and then we have a exciting third presentation from Bluebeam. Got a couple exciting announcements and stuff, and then there'll be a Q&A after that. So kind of 2 or 3 parts, depending on how you break that up. So for our first presenter is Amanda Wieting, Senior Technical Account Manager with Bluebeam. Amanda first started using Bluebeam Revu while working on complex healthcare projects as a project manager for the Wieting Turner Contracting Company. Since joining Bluebeam in 2014, she's used her combined industry knowledge and Bluebeam expertise to help Bluebeam's enterprise customers create and implement thoughtful digital workflows that solve their unique challenges. Amanda holds a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the Ohio University and a Master of Business Administration from Cleveland State University. Our second presenter tonight is Troy DeGroot. So with over 20 years as a detailer, designer, and BIM manager prior to teaching, Troy has cultivated a deep understanding of the requirements of customers, the needs of end users, common goals of management, and the capacities of Bluebeam technology. As a Bluebeam certified consultant, Bluebeam certified instructor, and implementation specialist, Troy works with project managers, BIM VDC managers, and CEOs, CIOs to increase productivity, predictability, and maximize software adoption. Learn more from Troy at www.uchapter2.com and also check him out at bluebeamandburgers.com. So with that, I'll hand it over to Amanda.
Okay, thanks, Eric. So let me just get my screen going here. Okay, so we should be good to go.
Yep.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for having us here tonight. As Eric said, I'm Amanda Wieting. I'm a technical account manager at Bluebeam, and I'm really excited to kick things off. So my portion of tonight's entertainment, it's going to be this idea of empowerment and how technology ties into that, specifically how Bluebeam Revu can help you with this. Now, when I think of women in construction, I think about empowering women, giving women a voice, recognizing their accomplishments. All of this is really valuable, but how do we get there? How do we find our voice? How do we get that recognition? And, I believe that part of this is self-reflection and knowing your goals, your strengths, and then being able to align those with what's going on around you. So I'm going to start by talking through a bit more on that. And then I have a scenario I want to walk all of you through that will give you some ideas around quick wins that you can immediately implement in your day-to-day using Bluebeam Revu to really stand out. So just a little bit about me, so you know who is speaking to you today. Eric kind of gave a bit of an intro here, but I joined Bluebeam in 2014. I work in our office in Chicago, and I'm part of the technical account management team that sits within enterprise sales. In my team, we support our enterprise customers in their adoption and utilization of Bluebeam products. Prior to working for Bluebeam, I was a project manager for Wieting Turner, where I was also a Bluebeam Revu user. And I worked on several large healthcare projects. I was primarily responsible for managing the MEP, fire protection, teledata, contracts, and coordination. And the things that I really enjoyed most about my time with Wieting Turner was working with a team, building relationships, solving problems, especially through using technology to find ways to be more efficient in my own work. And these are so much still a part of my everyday life here at Bluebeam, actually probably even more so the focus of how I spend my time. So that transition, from the project management side of things to the tech software side has been really positive for me. And just a little bit about Bluebeam. Just want to share a bit of a quick background here about who we are and how we partner with the industry to advance the way that our world is built. So since 2002, we have made desktop, mobile, and cloud-based solutions for paperless workflows that they have set the standard for collaboration and workflow design, or efficiencies for design and construction professionals worldwide. But the thing, I really love most about being part of Bluebeam and our purpose is that we are really people driven. We exist to help all of you be better, while you're out there creating and building these amazing structures that impact all of our lives. So I will start tonight. I'm going to introduce this idea of empowerment through technology, and then I'm going to get into this scenario where we'll look at, the typical Bluebeam user and this concept of leveling up. And this is where I'll share, those quick wins that you can immediately start to use to find empowerment through technology in your own work. So consider, this concept empowerment. We've been hearing this a lot this week, right? So when you hear this word, what comes to mind for you? What does it mean to you? What does it look like to you in the AE industry, especially as a woman in the AEC industry? I remember being on my first project and feeling just very small and very in over my head. I really knew nothing about construction. I didn't even really know what a conduit was. But I got into engineering because I was really good with math in high school, and I went into engineering, got into senior design, realized that I don't really want to be sitting behind a desk, just doing analysis and design work all day. And I met a project manager from Wieting at a career fair, and I was just really excited by what he had to say when he described, the industry and what they did. So that's how I ended up with Wieting. But I was very young. I was right out of college. I don't think I really knew myself well enough to really understand my own values and my goals and how I could use my own strengths to really find my voice in a very male-dominated field. But when I think about empowerment now, and I consider the women in my life that I feel to be very empowered in their careers, these are the things that really come to mind for me. Being able to really consider your strengths, your goals, what you like to do, and aligning the work that you're doing with those is really just a recipe for success. And for me, I really value relationships. I enjoy figuring out and solving problems, especially through using technology in interesting ways. So for me, being able to find a position where I spend my time doing that feels really empowering. And when I start to connect those dots of those goals and what I like to do, I really see technology as an opportunity to find a voice and stand out. And I wish I would have had a better understanding of that, when I was out in the field. I was doing some of that. I was finding ways to be more efficient in my own work, but I could have been, making a bigger impact on my team or within my company. So considering that all of you are, giving up your evening to attend a Bluebeam Tech Talk, I believe that you likely have that same appreciation. So I want to take some time to share some insights from ways that I see that I hope that you can find empowerment, your own empowerment through technology. So when I'm talking to my customers, it's usually because they have a problem to solve. They're trying to find a way to be more efficient in whatever they're doing. They are trying to reduce silos on projects, eliminate misinformation due to outdated documents. Whatever it is, these are all still really common problems in the industry, and technology is often a solution. But I see the people that are really adopting technology are the ones that are really standing out amongst their peers. And now this is what I think makes Bluebeam so special, is that it is a tool that most everyone in that industry has access to. And I just see it as a really low barrier of a way to be able to improve, your own quality of work, and also making a bigger impact on your project team or even in your company. And when you can do that, when you can show that you've increased quality or you've increased time savings, you are going to be recognized for that. So, okay, how do we actually do that, right? So I think, being able to recognize what your company goals are and aligning with those is really important. So for example, at Bluebeam, we use something called OKRs, which are objective and key results. And these are set at the company level. And then each team aligns our own work within these OKRs. So then, my own personal work is figuring out where do my goals, where do my strengths fit in? How do I use those to better my team, better my company? And my work has another layer to this, which are my customers, so the accounts I work with. And it's really important for me to also understand the goals of my customers to best support them. So to give you an example, to kick off 2021, the account manager that I work with, we met with several of our enterprise accounts. And I'm going to share some insights with you because these are the goals, that I've been hearing from leadership at enterprise accounts, across the board. And I hope that these will spark some ideas for you as how you can make a difference with your own company, or maybe start conversations with your project manager or your VP, your director, to find out what is important to that company. How can you help align, your strengths within that? So these are the things I'm hearing. All right, standardizing processes, going paperless, still a thing even in 2021, moving processes to the cloud, leveraging data to make business decisions, leveraging automation, increasing communication between IT and stakeholders, increasing user knowledge when it comes to the tech stack through things like training through Lunch and Learn. So hey, if you win that raffle, that could be a good one to start with. And then also one of my favorites is doing more with less. There's still a lot of unknown around the pandemic, the economy, budgets are tight. Company leaders, they really want to be able to maximize their current solutions. So I thought this balloon animal was an appropriate illustration of this concept because, maybe you wanted a balloon. So you went out and you bought a balloon and it's great, but then you realize it can be so much more than a balloon. It could be a dog or maybe a flower or maybe a really cool hat, which is really a lot like Bluebeam Review. So that brings us to part 2 here. What is the typical Bluebeam user? So this is the part where I'm going to talk to you about talk through how you can use Bluebeam Review in a way to help your company achieve your goals, and in turn empowering you to really stand out in what you're doing. So as a technical account manager at Bluebeam, I spend a lot of time talking to our customers, and I hear this type of thing all the time. We find that many people start using Bluebeam and they find a few things that work well for them, save them a ton of time, but they typically have not been trained on how to use Bluebeam Review, and therefore they don't know what they don't know. This was actually my experience with Bluebeam Review. It just showed up on my computer one day. I started using it. It's like, whoa, this is great. I can do things so much faster. I thought I was real savvy. And then I joined Bluebeam and I quickly realized, how much more time savings I could have been obtaining. I had access to all these really great features and tools, but I just didn't really have the knowledge of how they all work together. So my team, my technical account management team here at Bluebeam, we wanted to have a better understanding of what people actually know. So we decided to ask. So over the last year and a half, we've surveyed over 7,000 users at our enterprise accounts, and we asked them to identify their Bluebeam expertise, ranging from novice to expert. Now, before I share those results from you, we thought it would be fun to pull the group here. So you can either take out your phone and scan the QR code here. I'm actually gonna drop the link in the chat window too. And it's just a really quick survey. If you are not a Bluebeam user, you can still participate. I'm trying to find where the chat option went. Let's see.
Is
Okay,
it
I
the
think I
same
see
link
it.
from before, Amanda? I could drop it in for you.
It is, yeah. If you have access to it, that would be great.
The Office forms, right?
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so just to give you guys a little bit of idea of the questions we asked, and the actual survey had many more questions than this, but just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we sent out there. So we'll give you all a minute here or so. I'm just kind of watching the responses come in. Okay, so we're at about 25. I'm going to drag this over so we can all see this. So for the group here, most people are identifying as intermediate. A couple haven't used Bluebeam yet. Growth mindset right there. We've got some novice, one advanced. Very nice. Also, this is all anonymous. I probably should have said that. And then as far as features being used, looks like most everyone is using the markup tools. We've got some people using the tool chest, a couple on the markups list. So a lot of measurements and counts. That'll be good for when we get to Troy's section. All right. Okay, so going back to our enterprise customers and what we saw there. So when we looked at the consolidated results over the 7,000 users, we found that most people identified themselves as intermediate. So pretty much what we're seeing here tonight with this group here. So just like you guys saw, we did not define what each of these levels were because we really wanted to understand, where people saw themselves in their use and adoption of Revu. Another question we asked in our enterprise survey was, does Revu save you time and how much time does it save you? And using some very conservative math, we found that Revu saves the average user 37 minutes per day, which equates to $7.7 million over a year for 1,000 users. So going back to that, you don't know what you don't know concept. We wanted to know where people fall if we use the Bluebeam definition of expertise. So at Bluebeam, we defined a novice user as someone using the markup tools. The markup tools are our bread and butter. It's why so many people love Revu. They're super easy to use. They save you time. They increase your quality of work. However, there's so much more that Revu has to offer. And at Bluebeam, we define an intermediate user, someone that's using the markup tools, PDF editing, the tool chest, the markups list, and markup summaries. So don't worry if you're not familiar with these. I'll go into these in a bit more detail here in a bit. And when we looked at these definitions and applied these to the survey group, we found that nearly everyone fell under a novice user. So we weren't that surprised by that, but we wanted to see, what would it look like if people were taught to go from, or they taught these additional 4 features to go from a novice user to an intermediate user. And we found with just a little bit more knowledge of the foundational functionality, users could save another 9 minutes per day, which equates to another $1.3 million per year for every 1,000 users. Okay, so now to the fun part. What does it actually look like to go beyond the markups? So this is where we're going to look at these features and how you can use them to empower your own work. So I'm going to use an example here based on my own experience, but these concepts that I'm sharing, these can be applied to many different workflows. So QA, QC, QTO, design review, whatever it is you're doing, whatever markup, comment, step, whatever you're tracking on the PDF. So let's say you're on a project, you're running the mechanical contract, and you have some concerns about the number of VAV boxes that have been installed to date. So you talk to your mechanical contractor, but they disagree, they're fine, and you're gonna have to do something to clearly document where they are. Now, there may have been a time, this is what I would have done, back in the day, I would have taken my paper and plans, my highlighter, my pen, and manually tracked each VAV box, right? Highlighting it, writing in notes on the paper plan, certainly gets the job done, but it can be messy, it can be inconsistent, it can be difficult to maintain. Similarly, if you're doing a design review, you can do this on paper, but those same types of challenges are gonna exist, right? Now, if you are a Bluebeam Review novice user, so you're using the markup tools, you'll know that you can digitally replicate that paper-based workflow and save yourself a ton of time by doing this using markups and review. It's much faster, right? It's easier to share. It looks cleaner. I know I have terrible handwriting. I think that just kind of goes with the engineer thing, right? And however, though, the comments can be inconsistent and it doesn't really tell the entire story. So, complete, installed, what does that mean? So let's say you are working for a company where you were provided with Bluebeam review training to get you to an intermediate knowledge level. You know that the markups on the page can provide so much more just by incorporating this additional functionality, such as the tool chest, the markups list, the markup summaries. And from your training, if you click on a markup, you can adjust the properties using the dynamic properties toolbar. and you can give each of the markups a custom subject. So you apply this to your VAV box and you give it the custom subject VAV-20. Now, you recall learning about the time savings that comes with saving your custom tools to your tool tests. Tools can be standardized, they can be shared with project teams or even your entire company. So knowing this, you've decided to create a tool set for your future MEP tracking, and you store your VAV box or tool in here. Next, you unleash one of the most powerful features in Revu, the markups list. The markups list, it tracks markups, comments, measurements, everything, all the markups, everything that you're doing on the PDF, it's being tracked down here in the markups list. And you can use it to navigate through the markups on the PDF. And just like a little Excel spreadsheet, you know, the markups, they can be sorted, they can be filtered, but most importantly, it allows you to add data to the markups. For example, we can set statuses on the markups that change the markup color based on the status. Likewise, the PDF itself is so much more than just a digital piece of paper. Like this PDF right here, it has defined spaces that we see in the space column here. And when we place a markup on the PDF, the data will show up within that location and the markup is automatically updated in that space column. So you know exactly where you're placing that markup. Now, as you've set up the statuses to change the markup color, it is really easy to visualize completion status. So even without knowing what this means, you could look at this and have a really good idea of what's going on, right? So imagine, you know, sending this to your project manager, your lead VP, your owner, like they can look at this and they know exactly where the job process are, as will your sub. So to cover all of your bases, because you know that's what we do in construction, CYA, right? You can also use the markup summary to create a report. And depending on your needs, you can either choose from a PDF summary or an Excel summary. And as an intermediate user, you know, you'll likely stop there. You've done really great work. You've created a robust tracking system that allows you to quickly provide updated information on installation. But since this is, you know, beyond the markups, let's keep on going. So let's say you've had some additional Bluebeam training and you've learned that built right into Bluebeam Revu is something called Bluebeam Studio. And as one of my customers like to say, that when he clicked on Studio, this is where the magic really started to happen. So Bluebeam Studio Sessions allows you to collaborate on PDFs in real time with up to 500 users. And users can add markups, make comments, just like they can in Revu, but everyone in the session will immediately see these changes on the PDF. So you decide you're going to upload your VAV tracking PDF into the studio session, and you invite your superintendent, you invite your field engineer to the session, and you know they can jump on their review on their Windows tablet or on their iPad, and they can join the session and they can change the status on the VAV box. And you know, by joining the session from your laptop in your office, you can get real-time updates. So going back to the survey data from earlier, we also found that users that are also using Studio Sessions are saving another 9 minutes per day. So if you start to add all that up, you know, you've gotten an hour full of time savings. So, you know, you can have a lunch break or go to happy hour, whatever you want to do with that time. So I'm hoping, you know, that you've gained an understanding on how you can link the markup tools to the data to create these really innovative workflows to provide greater value to your project teams. And, you know, while I use this concept of tracking VAV boxes for our purposes tonight, I want to emphasize that these concepts can be applied to so many different workflows, ranging from QA/QC to design review to quantity takeoff to punch list. And actually, we're lucky because Troy is going to show these concepts within the QTO workflow. Now, one of my favorite customer success stories on developing a custom workflow by using these features was presented by a project engineer, Blake Walsh at PCL at our 2019 Extreme Conference. And Blake was working at a project at LAX and they were having some challenges tracking in-wall and ceiling inspections. They had a very manual paper-based tracking system, which we can see here on the left. They would roll this thing around the job site. And it did not provide them with, you know, a history of work. It offered poor communication and overall it was a bit confusing and unclear what was happening when you looked at it. On top of this, they found a really significant cost risk at, if they missed a closer inspection, it had a potential impact of $6,500 per room. So being an advanced Bluebeam review user, Blake created what he calls the Bluebeam inspection tracking system, which we can see here at right, using custom markups, statuses, the markups list, and studio sessions. And the time that invested to create this process, which was Blake meeting, with his superintendent, just to get buy-in, figure out how they wanted to do it, it was about, $2,200, and those are just, soft costs on the jobs. So really the effort to develop this was really quite minimal compared to the potential cost risk of missing an inspection. And the new system for them increased visibility and accountability, increased flow on the site. It provided better trade cooperation, which is always a big plus, improved tracking ability, and helped eliminate waste and avoiding rework. And one of the PCL superintendents said this implementation has been one of the largest impacts we've had to our field success in communication and tracking of trades progress. So that is my goal for all of you, is to take these concepts, make a big difference in the work you're doing within your team or within your company. Now, before I hand it over to Troy, I just want to share some resources. So first of all, we have Bluebeam user groups. We call them the bugs. The bugs unite local AEC professionals across the country and worldwide to share knowledge and industry trends. They meet regularly. They've been meeting virtually throughout, the last year during the pandemic, and they talk about industry-related topics, best practices, trends, tips, and tricks. So I wanted to highlight these two specifically, LA Bug and OC Bug. Next up is our academic program. So we provide free access to review for students and educators for both universities and skilled training programs. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to our academic team, academic@bluebeam.com. I'll also mention that for those of you that are not using Bluebeam yet, if you're not a student or, are eligible for this, we do have a free 30-day trial of Bluebeam Review Extreme, which you can download and start using at any time from our website. Coming up in September is our annual user conference. So I shared that story from Blake that he presented at our 2019 conference. So this year we'll be going virtual in September, and it's a really great opportunity to learn from other customers on how they're using Bluebeam Review, the types of things that they have come up with. But if you want to get started right away and you're looking to go from that novice to intermediate user or even to advanced, we have several training options ranging from free training videos and webinars to instructor-led courses. So you can find those on our website as well. Once again, I'm Amanda. I'm on the technical account management team here at Bluebeam. I've included my LinkedIn information here. Please connect. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions on the content or the resources. I would love to continue the discussion. And with that, I am excited to introduce you to Troy DeGroot, owner of View Chapter 2 and author of Bluebeam and Burgers.com. I've known Troy for probably 5 years or so now, and I've always impressed with the innovative workflows he comes up with. So his session is going to introduce 5 ways to take your basic measurements to super powered estimates.
Awesome, thank you, Amanda. I'm gonna jump in and share my screen here. There we go. All right, good job, Amanda. It's always good to hear from you guys. And you talked about efficiencies, standards, automation, user training, things like that are going to really work towards those 37 minutes a day for each of those users. And I'm going to try to show you how that works. So how do we build custom tools so that we're able to achieve those goals and make things faster, more efficient, more consistent, no matter who's doing these markups and that we're going to have consistent results. So I'm going to run through top 5 ways to take basic measurements to super powered estimates. As I go through, I'll quickly show you some basic measurements, how those work, talk about custom columns, legends, a unique way to use spaces to do estimates for assemblies,
And then quantity link as well is another way that I've built some custom tools to do assemblies as well. And then along the way, we're going to do some document compare slip sheet and look at what happens when we get a revision. Mid estimate, we can still update our estimates without having to start over. So I'm going to jump out of here and into review. To start out, I'm going to jump in and just do some real basic measurements here, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. So right off the bat, I'm going to jump over to my measurement panel over here. And the most important button on here is calibrate. You can select a preset scale. If the title block says 1/8 inch, you can go ahead and set that. I actually teach people not to do it that way. I always like to calibrate using the pick 2 points. So I click on calibrate. It says pick 2 points of a known dimension. And I do this because there's 2 print settings in Revit and AutoCAD. You can print to scale or you can scale to fit. And you'll get slightly different results when you do that. So I always like to do this manual process where I can select and snap to a grid. If you hold your shift key, it'll draw a straight line over to the next grid. And you can select. And then what this means is this random dimension distance on the piece of paper equals 1 foot. So we're going to change that to 30 feet to match what it says. I'm going to say apply scale. And now all the dimensions that we do going forward are going to give us accurate numbers. So obviously we have a length measurement. I'll go through a bunch of these. Length measurements just going to give you some of the dimensions that maybe weren't provided. You can go and snap in here and get the dimensions of that room. You can also use this for estimating materials. So let's say we have a stair stringer, and I can go and get the flat dimension here, 7'5", but I know that that's sloped, and I want to know the length of that sloped member. I can grab this, oops. I can select this measurement here, come over to my measurement tab, and where it says pitch, I can add a 7/12 pitch in here for that stringer. And it's going to label it with the slope 7 to 12 pitch and give us a new length for that material. So you can use that for those stair stringers or bracing or anything like that where you need that angled dimension. Next one I want to show you is the poly length. This one can be used for a lot of different things, maybe wiring or exit routes for architectural groups. Let's just say this one is electrical. So I'm going to run a line from here into my electrical room. This tool will give us the length of each segment and the total length over here. So if I select that, you can see down here in the markups list, it gives us the total length of those measurements as well. So as we start to lay out all those wires, we'll get a running total of all the wires that are in the project. With electrical, we know that if this is running through the ceiling, that there's about an 8-foot drop on each end to get us to those outlets. So we can come over to this measurement tab over here. And in this rise drop area, I'm going to add 16 feet for the total rise drop of that line. What that does is it labels it with our rise drop and gives us a new length for that, total length for that run. So that is our poly length. Next one is area. There's a few different ways to do area. When I select that tool and come in here, I can simply just click and drag, draw that square. It gives me that square footage, or I can pick and select all the corners of the room. This one's a little bit odd shaped, so I can come in here. I like to select the ends of those lines and double click when I'm done. And then to finish out that corner, I can select that little tip. You can right click, convert to arc, and it'll finish out that corner for us. So some of you might run into this where this measurement always lands on top of the room tag. The secret there, you try to move it, moves the whole thing. If you hold your shift key down, oops, I didn't want to move it. If you hold your shift key down, you can move just the text without the whole markup. So my favorite way to do area measurements is actually a tool called Dynamic Fill. We'll jump over here. That's this one up here. Gives me this new toolbar. And how Dynamic Fill works, it requires a continuous line all the way around the perimeter of the room. And because we have an open door here, I need to close that. So I'm going to come up here to add a boundary, zoom in, draw a line across this doorway, click and double click. And then what I need to do is make sure I select what I want it to report. So I put the area in there, and then I come over to my paint bucket and select that and just come out in the middle and start pouring paint. Then I need to bleed through the door and the door tag. And when I'm done, I hit apply, and it does a really nice job going around all those corners and curves. So very useful for civil design, landscaping, different things like that, odd shaped corridors. It'll do a great job finding those. So that is the basics that I want to show you as far as finding those measurements. The next thing we're going to jump into is kind of how Amanda put it, we're going to turn those balloons into dogs and flowers. So I'm going to jump over to another session of Bluebeam here. And in this case, I have storefront windows. So I've got a different workflow here where I used those spaces that Amanda talked about with the punch walk example, so that it would report what room all those punch symbols were in, so you knew what was going on in every room. What I did was I created spaces for the individual assemblies of these windows. So this storefront here, I can show you how we built this. I'm going to come up here, and this is storefront 11. And all I need to do is come over to my tool chest, some custom tools that I built. First off, we can grab the tempered glass and go in and trace out these bottom pieces so that those don't get kicked out or anything. They need to be tempered glass. And then we go and grab regular glass for some of these other sections. And then what I can do, I've got another tool for storefront joints. So when I place these, it's actually accounting for the joint on each side, placing those. And then part of my estimate, I need to figure out how long it's going to take to install. So I come up to my install, and this is based off of labor calculations per square foot of the whole assembly. So if you put that in there, now we've got that colored in. And the last thing that we're going to do is create a space. So I come over to my space panel over here, click on new, and I just need to make sure that this is big enough so all those parts fit inside of it. And I'm going to name this one, which one was it? I forget now. SF11, I think. We'll run with it. So SF11. Now what happens when you go down here to our markups list, we can sort this by space. So we've got storefront 11 here. That's our mark number for that assembly. And then all of the parts that need to be created to finish that assembly. So all the different pieces of glass, the joints, all that stuff is in here. With custom columns then, we're introducing labor hours here to install it. We also have fabrication hours. These are, so along with the area measurement, it will also give us the distance around the perimeter, which feeds into our caulking. So the distance around that whole perimeter of the area times 2 is going to give us the caulking on each side. So we have that built in here. And then if there's 8 of these different assemblies, 8 of the same assembly, we can come in here and just label it as 8, and it'll adjust all those quantities for us. So that's one way to build out assemblies for estimates. And some of these spaces here, again, you can use dynamic fill with those custom tools as well. So if I come in dynamic fill and I want to select that, let's say this is going to be the storefront glass type 5. I can get some of these odd shapes and just fill that. Oops. We'll clear that and just do this one. So I'm not zoomed in very well, but you get the idea. We can apply that. It's going to put that type of glass in there and do a nice job with that curve there. So let's see, we talked about glass joints, tempered installs, spaces, custom columns. And the last thing on this example I want to show you is the legend. So we can drop a legend on the sheet and actually have it report live all the components of that assembly. So we've got storefront SF12. That's feeding this one right here. And this is all of the materials that we need to build that assembly. So that's one way that you can report those quantities. We can also export a PDF summary or a CSV. I've worked with a lot of companies where we build these custom columns out very specifically so that when we export it to a CSV, it's ready to import into their existing estimating software. Or in some cases, we convert that CSV into a TXT file and import that into the estimating software. So lots of flexibility there. And like I said, this custom columns in here and your tool chest over here, building out these simple custom tools, that's really where those balloons turn into dogs. So that's the part that I enjoy. I just realized that just like every presentation I do, I didn't really introduce myself. That's just my passion about Bluebeam. So I'm a Bluebeam ambassador. That's what we'll say, a super fan. So we'll jump through. The next one I want to show is we're going to jump over to some concrete takeoffs. So in here, again, I've got some custom tools for strip footings. I built some for curb and gutter, slabs, walls, piers, all that. In here, I like to build these tool sets. So, okay, we've got pad footings here. I like to keep them all in the same color family so that we know what they are. Obviously, the strip footings are in the purple family, so we know they're different when we look at the screen. And then I have different shades for the different thicknesses of those pad footings. So here you can see I've got several 12-inch, and then we've got some 16-inch in here. And all I need to do is, just like the others, go and trace in one of those areas. So I can do another 12-inch here. And all I need to do is come in and trace that. Okay. What's happening down below in our custom columns again, I've got formulas built in down here. So the slab edge, so the rebar is going to be 3 inches away from the edge of the concrete, so it doesn't rust. So I have 0.25 feet in here. I have a vertical mat. So I only have one in. It's going to be, all this rebar is going to be at the bottom of that pad footing. And then I also have the size of rebar. So on these, I have number 5s. Down here, I've got some number 6s. And then also I came in and built formulas for spacing. So if these on this particular one are 18 inches on center, I'm just going to put in 1 foot 1.5 in each direction. And you'll see my quantities change for my total bar grid. So it's doing the math, it's figuring out the length of each piece of rebar in each direction and the spacing. and doing all the math and telling us this is how many number 5 rebar we need. So it gives us a total up here of 1,000 feet. So lots of cool stuff that you can do with these custom tools. The next thing I want to show, we'll come back to that one in a second, is Quantity Link. This one is one of my favorites. I think it's very much underutilized and very, very fun to use. So this one, again, just some area measurements that are custom for different wall styles. If I come in over here, let's do a couple of these meeting rooms. Let's do, sorry, I should back up and tell you what Quantity Link is. Quantity Link allows you to activate cells in your Excel file. So if you have a template, takeoff Excel file, you can quickly build tools that then feed directly in here. So these gray cells are the only ones that are reading into Bluebeam live. So you can see here when I start to go into floor tile 1, I'm going to quickly just draw in a shape here. And you can see it feeds in there my square footage. Maybe the next room I'm going to go with floor tile 2, and so on. You can see that that feeds in there, and it's going to do it live, and it's going to just keep adding it up. Okay, so I'm going to go in. I'm just going to do a real rough job here because I can't wait to see the next presenter actually. So I'm going to go trace those out, and you can see with charts and things like that, we can do a graphic in here that's kind of fun. But what I want to point out here is the power of Quantity Link. We can do assemblies as well. So we got our square footage of each of these different floor tiles. We added a price in here for that particular tile, and we can change this anytime. And then over here is just a simple formula that's giving us the price times the square footage that we brought in. Okay. And then we can do things also where waterproofing. When I did my bathroom, it came in a 3.5 gallon jug and it covered 140 square feet. So for all of these, I'm going to need 5 jugs, and they're $24. Underlayment. This is going to take this total area divided by 32 square feet, which is the area of a 4x8 sheet of underlayment. So I'm going to need 21 of those. The thin set comes in a 5 gallon bucket, and we're going to need 3 of those. And then the grout that goes between all the tile, we only need 1 of those because that's pretty thin. And then we just add it up. I happen to put, since this is my house, I put a difficult customer markup of 25%. And so the total comes up just adding all these together. So that is our Quantity Link. So now some other features that I wanted to show, I'm going to jump back to our footing example, were the slip sheet and document compare and updating our revisions. So I'm going to come over and go to our sets tab over here. And you can see I built a set of all these individual sheets. And what happens, we got a revision. So I'm going to come into batch, and this is an extreme only feature. So if you have extreme, you can do this. I'm going to go down to slip sheet. I'm going to select my open set as my current drawings. And then down here, I'm going to go to a folder and point to Rev1. That's going to load those in. And these are only the sheets that are affected by that revision. So I'm going to click on Match Pages. And here you can see they lined up. So it recognized the numbering of the page, and it gave me the old one and the new one. And down here, there's a couple different settings in here. The one I like is Insert Revised Pages Before Current Page. What this is going to do is just like that set on your desk in the trailer, you're going to slide in a new piece of paper and staple it in. Okay. But the power of digital is that we can copy all the markups from the current page to the revised page, unflatten if we need to, and we're going to stamp the old one superseded so we know which one is the current. So I'm going to say okay here. It's going to slide those in for me. It stamps those superseded for me. And I'm going to skip that and jump over and show you guys where these revisions are at. You can also run a report in here. It'll just give you some hyperlinks of this sheet was replaced by this one. I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to jump up here to the cover sheet where I put all of my hyperlinks so that I can go to my structural sheet. Where did those go? There it is. Go to my structural sheet. You'll see that all of those markups moved to the new drawing. If I click on here, if I click back on this one, you'll see that they're on there as well. And when those updates come in, so now you can see, well, let's just say we don't know what changed. We can come over here and right click on it, go to document compare. It lines up these two drawings. We're going to say okay. And it's going to create a third drawing that we can save in that revision folder for archiving. And it draws a cloud around the few things that changed here. So we can come in and it's obvious that we've got some footings here that changed. So let's go back and look at those. And here you can see the markup represents the old one, and that one got bigger. Both of these did. So rather than starting over with our whole estimate, we can go and adjust the shape of these to fit that new footing, and it's going to adjust all these numbers live. So all our estimates are going to update as soon as we fix those. We don't have to worry about where was it at. And then it also provides a spot where we can take a screenshot of that area in this difference file and paste that into a change order. And you have proof of why you're charging extra for that footing because it got bigger. You can tie all of that stuff together. So that is what I wanted to show you guys. I knew this could go one of two ways. Either I would talk super fast and stop early, or I get really excited and Peter has to sheep hook me and get me off the screen. So we kind of met in the middle, I guess. So I'm going to jump back to my PowerPoint here for a second and show you guys. So this is just a list of some of the tools that I've built for different subcontractors and companies, all custom tools to do some sort of a takeoff or custom workflow. So I've done a handful. And if you need to get a hold of me, if you have any questions about anything that I've shown, questions about training, I can certainly do that in person or via Zoom for your teams. You can find me, and it's not live yet, but you can get there, uchapter2.com. If you use the QR code, it'll get you here, get you there as well. And so what I want all of you to do now is go ahead and scan that. I know you all have your phone and you've been looking at it. So scan that for me. It's going to bring you to the site, and I'll show you what that looks like real fast. I'll jump over. Here's my website, okay? What I want you to do now is go into the UC2 Brainery and create a membership account. So this is a forum that I want all of you to join, and join some of these groups and start asking questions, answering questions. I'm going to be in here a ton. I've invited people from all over the world in here, and I'm really excited for this to grow and be a resource for everybody. So that's all I've got. And I'm going to turn it over, I think, to some questions with Amanda, if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, great job, Troy. You're like a ninja, man. I feel like my head is like surging right now.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll open it up to questions. So if you want to drop, oh, looks like we're looking for the QR code again, Troy, for U chapter 2. I don't know if you could put that one up, or maybe I could copy a link to it in the chat. I think. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and then if anybody has other questions, you can put them in the chat, or we could hang out here for a minute if you want to unmute, if you're brave enough to jump in there.
I have a question for you, Troy. So you talked a lot about these custom tool sets. I was wondering, would you quickly be able to demonstrate if I wanted to create something on my own without, hiring someone like yourself to come in and do it for me? Is there a quick way you can show this is where you go to start the process of creating a custom tool set?
Sure. Yeah, let me jump back. Everybody good with the QR code? You got the link in the chat, so we'll jump back. I'll close this again and jump
Live
back
demo,
in.
Troy. Here we go.
Here we go. Hey, the whole thing's been live. So let's go back to the wire example. So you guys saw I used the poly length. I came in and I added the 16-foot drop. That's going to be the case every time. So I want to build that into that tool, right? Consistency. When I build tools for people, I'm coming from a background. I was a BIM manager for a very large engineering firm. And I build all the custom templates and things like that with the intention that they trip into doing it correctly. They really have to go out of their way to do it wrong. And I want somebody that starts tomorrow to get the same results as the guy that's been doing it 20 years. So building in that 16-foot achieves that, because the intern might not realize that, okay? So once I get that in here, we go over to our properties, and maybe we'll call this, maybe this is a Cat 5. So we'll call that Cat 5E. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. I'll put that in the subject, and I'll show you why in a minute. I also put it in the label because it shows up here on the plan. I know what it is. And then I can start monkeying around with the colors. So maybe I want my Cat 5 to be this orange color. Oops, this one. I want it to be orange. Maybe I want it to be a dashed line and a little bit thicker. Can beef that up. So now I've got my tool built. I've got it custom. I know that every time I see an orange dashed line, that it's a Cat 5, and it happens to be labeled as well. All you need to do is right click, add to tool chest. I'll just put it in my tools up here. That puts it up here, and it looks identical to the last wire. So probably never going to use that tool. But if you double click on it, it's going to switch over and keep all of the properties of that. And I can draw whatever this next run is going to look like. And all the labeling and all the color and the dash line and all that stuff sticks on all of my projects going forward. So I can share these with.
Can you repeat the step where you double clicked? Sorry, I somehow missed that.
Yeah. So when you originally place this into the tool set, it comes in exactly how it comes in as exactly like the original. So the chances of you placing this same wire are very slim. If you double click on this, it's going to put it in drawing mode so that you can draw a fresh one. but it takes on all the properties of the original one.
Thank you.
So all of these tools that I've showed you tonight are just, you create one, you duplicate it, you change the properties of it, and pretty soon you've got, you've got a tool chest full of whatever you're doing takeoffs on. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's, again, these custom columns down here. That's where all the power's at. I've done occupancy calculations, so you could actually do area measurements in the rooms here, and it'll tell you how many people can be in there, different things like that. It's all, everything that you do for takeoffs is either a length, linear footage, or an area, or count. And everything else is a formula. So you can do takeoffs of anything. No limits, right, Bluebeam?
That's right, Troy.
I had to sneak it in. I believe it to the core. Yeah, if there's any other questions, let me know. I know Amanda went over
Got
some great
one
stuff
more.
as well, too.
Hey, Troy, I got one
Yeah.
more question.
Yeah, go for it.
When you were showing the markup list with the multiple formulas that you can create and tell you how much rebar you can use, on those columns, can you real quick how you made it?
Sure, you were looking at maybe the, I can show you the crazy ones, is the concrete. So I only have a few of these turned on. These are the only ones that we really need to worry about. Oops, I'm on a different, I don't want those on. If you look at the markup or at the columns though, if I go into custom columns, these are all the custom columns. Okay. Some of these, I just needed it to, let's say the length of the rebar is the length of the markup minus 3 inches on each side. So I needed a column to calculate that. And then I needed one to tell me how many there are at 1.5 feet spacing within the height of this markup. And then you come over into these into the total and do this one times this one plus, all of that jazz. So where you do that is down here in the manage columns. Come over here to custom columns and you just build these out. So rebar size, that one's a choice. I can come in and select whatever size, or it's a number, sorry, with no decimals because that's what rebar comes in. Strip footing bars, all of these, we've got choices and we've got formulas, and they all point to each other to give us the answers we want. Does that answer your question? Sorry, it was a little muffled, chopped.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah. And again, ask those questions in the brainery if you join that group.
Cool. Thanks, Troy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. Honored to do it.
And then I had a question for Amanda. You mentioned XCOM coming up in September.
Yes.
How do we hear more about that, or maybe sign up for that or participate? Or
Yes. So if you go to bluebeamextreme.com, you can sign up to get on the mailing list to get more information when we start to send that out. So I'll put that in the chat as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Amanda. Well, last call for questions on this part before we hop into our next part and hear from Sully Miller. Any questions? Give you guys a couple seconds. No? Okay, so Appreciate it, Troy. Thanks again, Amanda. Troy, if you go ahead and stop sharing, please, so I can put some slides back up. Thank you, sir. So Jennifer from Sully Miller's on. Apologize for the miscommunication in the beginning. I missed a note. I got my times mixed up with Sully Miller presenting, so I apologize to Jennifer for that. But we appreciate Sully Miller contracting, supporting this week in this event as a gold sponsor. So with that, I'll ask Jennifer to tell us about Sully Miller.
All right, thank you, Eric. Well, first off, thank you for everyone to attend tonight, and thank you to the committee and chapter for putting this together. I think it's been a great source of communication and networking, so I really appreciate the opportunity to sponsor such an event. As Eric said, my name is Jennifer. I am the Human Resources Manager with Sully Miller Contracting Company. It was very insightful to hear about Bluebeam. I don't deal with that directly, but it was insightful to learn a few things there. I did start in the construction industry about 10 years ago, right out of college with an internship at Sully Miller, and I've kind of worked my way up through the ranks. It's a great company, and I'm excited to tell you just a snippet about it. But of course, if you have any questions or want to connect after, I'm more than willing to chat with you guys. So Sully Miller is a coal loss company, which I'll explain in a few minutes, but they were established in 1923 in Long Beach. So we have some deep Southern California roots here. We're coming up on our 100th year anniversary in 2 years. So a lot of longevity with the industry in construction, and a lot of the longevity with our employees as well. It's very common to hear that you're a second generation, maybe even a third generation employee that works with Sully Miller. So I think that speaks volumes to our organization in a sense like that. We are a vertically integrated company. So what that means is that we have our own aggregate source, which is based out of Irwindale, and our own hot asphalt mix, which is, we have several different locations, which I'll explain in a few minutes. And then our construction side, which is obviously the productivity and the different projects that you see executed out on the roads. We once upon a time were pretty much public based, meaning that the lowest bidder was awarded to us, and that's how we got our work through public works. But with times evolving in the construction industry, we've now ventured out into some of our design builds, alternative delivery, and public private works as well, which has been exciting to see that transformation within the organization. And we are a coal loss company, so they acquired us back in 1998. And what that means is we have a large sponsorship. So although locally we're here, Sully Miller, and that's our name that we know, coal loss is our large owner per se, and they're the largest road builder out in France. They have several different companies. I think if you go to the next slide, it might show a little bit about coal loss, but they're pretty big in their revenue there. They have 37 companies throughout the US and Canada. And recently they did a big acquisition, I believe 2 years ago in Canada, with the acquisition of the Miller Group, which was huge for our organization. We do have, being a coal loss company, you know, we do focus in our asphalt, you know, what we're putting into it. We have QC out there, and it's just a full all-around company from start to finish of our productivity. The next slide should discuss, here's our global footprint in the United States. So this is Coal Loss USA. We are the Southern California region over here, but we also have several different companies throughout the United States. So we always promote relocation, but it's never forced upon us. So it's always, if you want to expand your career, you know, you want to go to Alaska or you want to go to Florida, then you have that opportunity to expand your skill sets and relocate with the company, which is always kind of nice. I believe the next slide. United Rock is our aggregate source, as I said before. So if you're ever driving off the 210 in the 605 with all the aggregate sources out there. United Rock is ours right there off of Arrow Highway. So this is an overview of it, but that is our reclamation plant that you see in that picture there. And then our aggregate plant. We also have an equipment shop there. And our QC is at the location as well. So everything that you're kind of viewing in that picture is part of Soley Miller, Blue Diamond, and United Rock. We have 5 asphalt plants for Blue Diamond. They're in Irwindale, Inglewood, Southgate, Sun Valley, and Victorville. So with those, we also have satellite offices where employees kind of work and oversee some of the different companies within those regions. Award-winning asphalt, so we're pretty proud of that company as well. And then we have our construction, which is Soley Miller Construction, which performs work throughout the greater Los Angeles area, a little bit in Orange County and the Inland Empire, but it's pretty competitive there since we don't have asphalt plants in those locations. So we do venture out that way, but primarily in the greater Los Angeles area, as well as the high desert, Victorville, Barstow, all the way to the Colorado River, where, you know, the border of Arizona and California is. We have done work out that way as well, off the I-40. Some of the larger projects that we've done within some of the time spans, but more recently, is we've done the race at the Porsche racetrack, which is a fancy racetrack where adults get to race their Porsches. So we did the concrete for that project. The LA waterfront, which is out in the Port of LA, we did a construction of like sidewalks and street walks beautification to the Port of LA, as well as the Ghost Fish project, which was also out in the Port of LA. We do a lot of Port of LA projects, which is nice. We also did the Baldwin grade separation in El Monte. So if you're ever in that area, basically the railroad, it was one of those things where you had to stop, you know, and wait for the train to pass. And we built a bridge that went underneath it. So that was the grade separation. The LAX Taxiway P has been our largest project. It was roughly about $100 million. And we completed it on time, actually before time. So on time and under budget, but it was even better than on time and under budget because we completed that project a little bit faster than expected, which was great for the LAWA agency. And then a couple of years back, but kind of one of our famous projects here is we did the Hollywood Star reconstruction. So there was a part of the Hollywood Boulevard where the famous stars are that had been kind of shooken up and broken, and we went in there and fixed some of them. So it's kind of it's fun to share some of these projects that are more special and unique, but we also, you know, our bread and butter is in those grind and overlay projects, because when we're laying asphalt, we're making money for all 3 of our companies, which is always a good thing. There's the next 2 slides are just some of the pictures. So here's the Porsche racetrack here. So here's, as I said, some of the concrete that we poured. So kind of a neat thing if you ever have some spare time to go race some Porsches. And then the next one is of the port, the LA waterfront. So this is kind of the beautification that we did right there. So you can see it's not your standard grind and overlay, but it is a project that was executed by our crews, which is great. The next slide is just my contact information. I think it's great, you know, especially during this, or maybe it didn't get in, that's okay.
Yeah, sorry, Jennifer.
No, that's all right. That's quite okay. But feel free to reach out to me, whether it's through the website of Soley Miller or connecting on LinkedIn. But I do think it's so great, you know, to have this event and to really empower women during, especially in the construction industry. You know, as speaking from somebody that's been in the industry for 10 years, and I am on the admin side, but still have to deal with the field. I think that it's really empowering to support one another and see each other succeed. So I do appreciate this event. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity and being kind of flexible with me to present, but I do appreciate it. And thank you for allowing us to speak today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. And thank you to Soley Miller for your gold sponsorship. Maybe if you drop your contact info in the chat, just so that everybody has it, that'd be helpful.
Absolutely smart. I will definitely do that. But thank you again.
Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, so, all right, on the last part of tonight, I'll hand it over to Amanda to introduce us to our next Bluebeam segment.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. So I'm really excited. We have a sneak peek into what is coming next from Bluebeam. So to kick us off, I would like to introduce you to our Chief Product Officer, Roger Angrita. Roger, thank you so much for joining us, and I will turn it over to you.
Thanks everybody, and I'm so happy to be here to meet all you. As Amanda mentioned, and Amanda, great presentation and great representation for Bluebeam, by the way. And I love seeing Troy and all the work. It's always fantastic to see our customers and what they're able to do with our solutions, which is great. But so as Amanda mentioned, I'm Roger Angrita. I'm Chief Product Officer for Bluebeam. I'm on the executive team for Bluebeam, and really excited to really be here with you all and really introduce my team who does all the hard work. I just kind of sit here and talk about it. But I'll be introducing Peter and Jeanette in a second, and they'll be going through some Bluebeam solutions and a bit of our future. Just very quickly, one of the things just thematically that we're thinking about at Bluebeam a lot about our customers is really a lot of what Amanda covered, which is interoperability, mobility, making sure that our customers have access to their data. We certainly understand that we're not the only tool. We're a fantastic tool. We love what we do, but at the end of the day, you guys have many other tools that you work with in construction, and we want we want you to have continuous workflows that allow you to take your work with you wherever you go, and etc. So just very excited to kind of share with you what's next with Bluebeam, and you're going to see a whole lot more from us in this way. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Peter to kick us off.
Thanks, Roger. So we're really excited to talk about a new product today that Bluebeam's going to be releasing pretty soon. So what it is, it's called Project Rover. So it is a field project management solution coming out from Bluebeam that is really SaaS web mobile based to allow our users to get through some of those key construction workflows in the field, such as punch, RFIs, and submittals. And we're really going to be showing how a lot of what you've seen today in review, how we're carrying the essence of some of those capabilities and that interoperability forward, so that we have those capabilities beyond just desktop applications, but out in the field on mobile devices as well as on the web. So with that, I think it's best just to jump into a live demo. We can show you different aspects of it, and I'll hand it over to Jeanette to kick us off.
Great, thanks, Peter. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Great. So here I've already started my project. I get an overview of what's going on. I have thumbnails of the drawings that I've uploaded, any open punch items, as well as the RFIs. Here from my dashboard, I can also navigate directly to see all of my drawings here. Let me refresh while it was waiting. And I can upload files from my local desktop. But also within Project Rover is I can also connect to integrations. We know that data can live in many different sources. We have the ability to pull information from multiple locations. And from here, let me wait for that to refresh for a second. And once I get back in, I can show you how you can set up integrations to Box, Dropbox, and you can also pull information from your Studio projects. So if you've been leveraging Studio, you can pull in those files. So here I have some drawings. If I wanted to add additional, I can import from Studio. And here I can browse through my files really quickly and select the files that I want to pull into my project here. Once I'm done, I can confirm the selection and publish it, and my whole project team can see that information. In my settings, I can also set up my integrations and connect to Box, Dropbox to pull in additional files. Also from my dashboard, you can see here from the original landing page here from my project, I can see a shortcut for my items. So I have some punch items here, but next I wanted to show you how you can add additional punch items on the go using the punch on the Rover app for your punch list. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Peter so he can show you what it looks like on an iPhone.
Great, thank you, Jeanette. Let me quickly get this. All right, can everyone see it? Great, so this is Project Rover on the iPad. So it's supported both on phone, iPhone, and iPad. And here you can see it's similar to the layout that Jeanette was showing on the web. We have all of our information here, the workflows along the bottom. So let me just dive right into Punch. So basically, the best way to get started is to navigate to drawing. And here you can see I already have some punch items. So it's as simple as just tapping place punch item. I'll place it in a room to get started. So one thing I want to highlight here is that the location copy 262, that was automatically identified. So this is leveraging some of what you saw earlier tonight with what Troy was showing. So if there are spaces in the PDF file that was brought into Rover, we're automatically recognizing that. So we're getting a lot of efficiency here in terms of saving time with not having to type in all those locations. So I can come in and attach my photo. So I'll select a photo that represents my issue. And I can just type in my description. So I can say, missing outlet, and I can go ahead and assign it to whoever I need to. And they'll get an email when that item is done. So I can go ahead and save it. And now this is being uploaded to the cloud, and it's associated with this drawing, and it's a truly PDF compatible markup. Jeanette will show in a minute that we can get this back out. We can bring these into review, but I was able to take these punch items really easily out on the field. And just really quick also, I think you also saw on that same drawing, we can also post RFIs on the drawing as well. So Punch posting RFIs is really easy on these devices. And for the first time, these are really being tracked as true workflows with assignees and notifications, etc. So we also have Punch here. We have RFIs. We also have submittals. Jeanette will show on the web as well, but it's really easy to see the approved submittals right on the phone. So now that I've showed a tour of what's on the mobile, I want to show one more thing before I hand it back to Jeanette. Let me share a different screen. And that is, I wanted to address some other capabilities that are coming out in Rover. So if you may have already known, we made an acquisition back in 2018 of Bluebeam Atlas, and those capabilities are now being showcased through this through Rover. So really excited about that. We're able to combine the power of the workflows that you've just seen with the map. And I can go ahead and really quickly show this. I know we're over time. So I already have calibrated a drawing to the map. I can go ahead and calibrate another one. But if you can see, this is actually that same PDF that I was showing you on mobile with all these same punch items that now are on the map. And there's some huge advantages to this. So one of those is, for the first time, we can now stitch multiple drawings together in the same view. So we have an overall view of our entire project, and all of this data is accessible in a new way. So, you know, if a typical project, you know, has many drawings. So now you're not flipping through pages to find information. We can have all of it presented here easily in a geographically displayed way. And also we can overlay multiple revisions of, disciplines of a drawing. So it's really easy to come in here to add. We already have our floor plan. I can add my reflected ceiling plan. I can come in and calibrate this. One zooms in the way. We want to make sure that we're capturing just the content. So we exclude the title block. And then we can come in here and actually overlay that on the map. So we know we need to rotate it, nudge it a little more. And then we can come in and then place that right on top of the existing floor plan. So we'll line that up, save that. And now I have multiple revisions or multiple disciplines of that same drawing overlaid. So we're really excited about this functionality. All of this information that you're seeing here is live, tied back to that 2D drawing view. And now we just have so many better ways to visualize this information. So with that, I'll kick it back over to Jeanette.
Thanks, Peter. Back on the web here, let me go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see. So back on the web, all those punch items that were collected in the field, I can see here both in a list view, but I can also see it in my drawing view. In the list view, I can organize this information, sort, filter, create reports. We know that oftentimes you have those weekly owners meetings where you're going over all the open items. You can filter down just to see by the status, by the discipline, or perhaps you're going to break it out by assignee and start distributing those reports to your subtrades. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and filter these down by status, and I want to see just my open items. And once I've done that, it gives me that list, and I have two options. I can export to Excel or PDF. Once I've exported to PDF, I can see and review that I get a list view of all of my items on page 1, but I also get the floor plan that was marked up in the field. So that includes all of my markup data. So it's fully compatible with Revu. Any photos that I may have taken are also compatible with Revu. So I can view those images as capture markups inside of Revu. I also have the option to leverage the markups list. So I can still see all of that metadata that was gathered. In addition to that, all of my punch items each get its own dedicated page with the photos that were associated during that punch walk. And back on the web, not only do we have that tracking capability for punch, but we have the same for RFIs. As Peter mentioned earlier, you can post your RFIs once they're closed on your drawings, making sure that your RFIs are distributed to the field. They see the final response. They get everything directly tied to the drawing. And then I know we're over time, so I'll just touch on this briefly. As Peter mentioned, you can also track and organize your submittals as well. So as you go through the submittals process, you can assign them to your subtrades, but you can also see here, you can review them as well. So if one is ready for design review, your designer can also be a part of Project Rover. They can respond and review those submittal packages directly from within Rover. They can place their markups and they can choose the response that they wish to send back. So if they are rejecting it, they can do so directly from within Rover. And with that, I was going to leave time for questions. The last thing I wanted to mention, I know we're over on time, is that we do have the ability as well to export your project information. So when that project is done, you can take all of your project data and export it back to your DMS. So if you need to send it back to Box, you can send it there. You can also archive it through Studio Projects or download it locally. All of that information is not trapped within the system. We want to make sure that it's fully functional and you can get all of your data out to where you need it. I was going to say, Peter, anything we missed there? Any questions?
No, I think that was quick, but I think we got the, we touched on all the parts. Yeah, I can just, this is coming out pretty soon. You'll be able to have access to it. So yeah, any questions?
Are you releasing, is that like a fall 2021 or spring 2022?
No, like soon. Like you're gonna get it soon. Like weeks, not months. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are some of the first to see it, so thanks for being our guinea pigs.
That map integration is super cool. Looks very powerful, very exciting. Something I was thinking about, I don't know if this is for Peter or Jeanette, but what about like an offline mode, maybe, just in case you got no cell signal?
Yeah, definitely. So this application's built what we call offline first. So it works whether or not you have internet connection. So when you're out in the field, if you don't have internet, you can keep working. All of your information is saved locally on the phone, the iPad. And then when you get back to having Wi-Fi or cellular, it will all just upload, be stored in the cloud.
Cool. Cool. We'll give it maybe another minute or so to see if any questions come in the chat, or if anybody wants to hop off mute and be brave, ask a question maybe.
They might be eager for the giveaway.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of, I mean, I've seen some of this before, and I was surprised with how cool this tonight went. There's a lot of exciting content. Any questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you to Peter, Jeanette, Roger, and Amanda. That was exciting. Exciting announcement forthcoming from Bluebeam. So appreciate the preview. Looks like very powerful platform. Cool. So with that, I guess Miriam, do you want to share your screen so we can get into the?
Yes. Oh, before I do that, I realized, similar to Troy, I never gave myself an introduction as well. My name is Miriam Tekla. I am a project engineer at Turner Construction, and I am this year's ASCE OCCI Vice Chair. And that means I get to do fun stuff like give away free stuff. So let me share my screen. And today, like we mentioned, we're giving a lunch and learn with Troy. So.
And you have to be here to claim your prize.
That's right. Be here, be square.
They're probably dropping off now that you told them it's me.
Dietra, am I saying it Dietra or Dietra Monet? Or Monet?
Dietra. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna be the new office champion. You get a lunch and a paid for lunch and learn with Troy.
Thank you very much.
Come. Okay, so let me go back to our presentation. Oh, sorry, we were not on the slide. Sorry. Closing remarks. Eric, did you want to, or?
I can take this over. So I'm this year's ASCE Orange County Younger Member Forum president, and I just really want to give a big shout out to our committee. This has been in the works since December, trying to find speakers and finding some really valuable content for the entire week. On Tuesday, we were able to give out 5 scholarships to students. Had a wonderful panel of speakers throughout the entire week, and everybody really pulled in a lot of the legwork. So just shout out to our wonderful committee. And also, this week cannot be as amazing without our sponsors. So we just really want to say thank you again to all of our gold sponsors, silver sponsors, bronze sponsors. Everybody had a great hand in making this week possible, and we're very appreciative and just want to say thank you again. And I'll be sending out a meeting recap. We did record this session, so since you attended, you will be receiving the recording. It's almost a 2-hour recording, so it's probably going to take a little bit of time to process, but it will be in your inbox either later tonight or tomorrow morning. So with that, thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us, and thank you again to all of our speakers. And if you have any questions, a few of us might stick around, or else we'll be providing some contact info for you to get in touch with them later. So thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a great night.
I'm also going to stop recording now.